Welcome back, you guys. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I milled up, assembled, and installed these window frames, and we will also cover flashing and rain screen. So let's get right to it. The first thing I have to do is measure the outside of the window to get a length for my flashing. So we like to add an 1/8 onto each side, and this is the west window at 47 1/16. The flashing is kind of confusing to cut for your first one, but after 20 you'll get the hang of it. So I cut a 1/2 inch off of the front of the flashing. And to do a nice job, you will need a nice pair of seamers. And you'll notice that I do that on a bit of an angle. I cut a 1/2 inch off, but I push it over to 5/8 of an inch. We then snip a little 45 cut off there for aesthetics. And now we can measure off of this end of the flashing. And you're going to add a 1/2 inch. So 47 1/16. Plus a 1/2 inch, 47 9. This nice long pair of snips makes me do much cleaner work here because you can snip the full length basically. And you're going to get another chance to see that 5/8 that I was talking about that was probably confusing on the first cut. So here's the 1/2 inch that gets us our finished length. And then watch as I put the seamers on. You're going to notice that I put them on at the 1/2 inch and then tweak them over 5/8 of an inch. Right here. Tweaked over, and that will help you get a straight bend. And I don't know why it works like that, I just know that it does. Three things I'm looking for when I'm installing the flashing. The first is making sure I have an even reveal on both sides, so 1/8 is what I was looking for. And then I'm also lining the flashing up with the window frame, smack in the middle of it. You need to make sure you have enough room that the window doesn't hit it when it opens, so we just split the line of that window frame. And you also want to make sure the flashing is resting naturally, that you're not pushing it down onto the frame and it's pushing the flashing up and not allowing it to drain properly. I always make sure not to over nail my flashing. You just need enough for it to stay straight, and on a 4-foot window 3 nails is enough. So this part can vary depending on what your system is, but on this system we are using the Siga house wrap, so we are using the Wig Glove tape to now seal the top of the flashing. And the beautiful thing about Wig Glove tape is that you can do a negative lap and it will still keep water out. Next, it's time to install the bug screen, and I like to do this with the pieces of rain screen. I find it's just a little bit easier. A lot of people will use a hammer tacker to install the bug screen, but then I have to carry one more tool around with me, and I find when I do it this way, again, it's less tools to carry around, less broken packs of staples laying around the job site, and it just feels more efficient to me. These treated strips of 1/2 inch plywood are called rain screen, and this is what allows any water that gets in behind the siding to now drain out down the bottom. It's a really good system, and as Mr. Hahn says, it's the code. For good measure, I like to add a second nail, although it is debatable as to whether it's even helpful or not, or whether I should actually be putting that many holes into the flashing. Although the Wig Glove tape probably seals the hole, and I don't think any water is actually working its way up that far. And for the remainder of the rain screen, I just use 2-inch treated screws. The reason I don't use nails for the whole thing is because I am faster with the drill. Once the rain screen and flashing is on, you can now measure for your casing. Now these can both be a little different, and I always pick the one that's longest and add an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch. And keep in mind you will be measuring to the inside of your miter. That is, if you choose to do miters. Miters are not the easiest and not necessarily the best option, but it's what we did here. Next, it's time to mill up the sill and apron. I use 10-degree cuts because that provides an adequate slope for water drainage. Now this is one of those things there's no point in me giving you exact measurements for. It's going to depend on the detail that you want. So this is my apron with a sloped cut on top and a space for the siding to tuck under. And this is my sill with a 10-degree cut on back and a 1/4 inch kerf cut 3/4 of an inch back for a drip edge. So we chose to do miters for a nice seamless look. However, it is a lot more work and it is risky because they have a tendency to open up when you're using dimensional lumber. Most people will do butt joints where the casings meet at the top. When measuring from the inside of the miter, I clamp my board to my stand right on the line, and then I can measure and mark it directly. Although I am about to make a silly mistake here. You may be noticing that. I was too busy filming a video, which is why I didn't notice it, so now I'm just going to line those up, make sure they're accurate, and make this cut properly. Thankfully, we had enough lumber. When cutting the two side pieces, I like to make the 10-degree cuts on the ends first with a long piece of lumber, and then it's really easy for me to measure from those cut ends and do my miters. I should also note where the measurements came from. So these are the two side measurements from the bottom of the window up to the flashing, and the piece that I cut first was from measuring the top of the flashing end to end. For gluing up the miters, we like to use biscuits, screws, and Titebond 3. Whenever I glue anything up, I like to make sure the glue is spread thoroughly on the joint, and I like to give it a little bit of time to soak in just to increase the bond. So this lumber was very twisted, and what I'm going for more than anything is a tight miter, more than a flat miter. Both is nice, but I could usually only get one. And a tight miter is a joint that won't fail. At least not as quickly or as badly. So for efficiency, I just did pilot holes and screwed in from the sides, although pocket hole screws would also be a very good option. Possibly better, but I didn't have that hole set up with me. Once the top is assembled, you can now measure the length, and you will have the length for your sill and your apron. Okay, now I might get in a little bit of trouble for this one. For the first half of the job, I was sanding the paint off, so I was getting a solid wood-to-wood connection on those glued connections. But I found it quite time-consuming, and those are also the least likely joints to fail and the easiest to fix if they do. So that is why I made the decision halfway through the job to just start gluing the wood onto the painted part. I used two 3-inch screws directly into the casing leg. And for the record, I actually had to take one of these apart, and the paint to wood to glue connection was actually still more than adequate. And I do believe that if there was serious movement in the casing, even a wood-to-wood glued connection would not hold up, especially for exterior trim where the movement can be more dramatic. I'm also using another set of 3-inch screws going from the apron through the sill into the casing, and then I used 2-inch screws through the length of the apron into the sill. After the frame has been assembled and cleaned up, I then putty the holes and leave it for 24 hours to allow the joints to become fully cured. And as you can see, there are some major twists in this board that are going to require a lot of work to get these miters flat. I tried a few different methods. The power planer was not a good option because once you get a little further down, it just gouges in. I also tried a flap disc and a grinder, and that worked pretty well, but at the end of the day, the best thing was just a palm sander and some elbow grease, taking care to not groove it out or hollow it out. Some people are real butchers with palm sanders, but as somebody who does drywall, I like to make sure things are actually appearing flat. And after sanding, we paint it with a exterior Home Depot paint. I don't know, Marquee or some weird name. Out of my scope. Personally, I probably would have primed everything with oil, but hey. So one of the things that made this trim install a little more challenging than the other ones is that I had to install 2 flashings. So I'm just removing the screws so I can fit this other heavier gauge flashing underneath. And it will be left loose until the window frame is in position. It looks like I built it just a bit small, so I'm trimming the flashing and tapping the edges to make it fit a little better. Once the reveal on the side looks good, I would usually start by screwing the bottom in, pushing it up to the bottom of the window frame. And we are using 3-inch trim head screws. No pilot holes necessary. It's more important to install the frame parallel to the window than level, but I always like to double check anyways. If there's a really big discrepancy, I'll often split the difference. Now, I would say I'm probably over fastening this trim. However, with how warped this stuff was and how likely it is to move, I figured more screws is probably better than less. So even though we pre-primed it, it's still going to get filled with Dynapatch and then get a couple coats of finish paint over top of those faces. And those miters are looking good, except where the power plane gouged it, but you will never see it from 30 feet below on the ground. And the vertical gap from the window to the casing will get caulked with an exterior grade caulking. The top of the house will get shingles. It was hardy shingles or fiber cement. I also built this scaffolding on site. That's one of the other things I did. And these 4 windows here were the first ones that I installed, which was probably the hardest spot I could choose to start. It was a lot of work to make sure the tops and bottoms all lined up and were level. And here it is, getting pretty close to finished on a very wet November day. But you can see we did horizontal siding on the bottom. Again, fiber cement. You can see where that little notch in the bottom of the apron ties in with the siding. The siding just gets caulked to the window frames, and that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you're doing awesome.